follow Kendall. This piece is carefully woven with a sense of place, history of the land and the river, personal experience, and touchstones that I picked up along the way. Because of this weaving, it's really important, or really difficult for me to choose an excerpt, because if I start from the beginning, then mostly you just get groundwork. If I pull some section out of the middle, then you're not getting any of the groundwork. So there's a weaving that goes on, and I encourage you to read the whole thing so you can get a feel for it in Scribendi. This is nonfiction. I've decided to start on page 4 where James and I connect. I'm a journalist on this river trip, researching for a book I'm writing, and other participants are from all over the country. James is a writer for the New York Times, and unfortunately, he's married. River touchstones. San Juan River, southeastern Utah. It starts with a quote from Heraclitus: "You cannot step into the same river twice." Get to page 4. The first night is the last night I sleep in my tent. Too much sun, not enough water. Day 2 surrounds me like a gorgeous blister, chocolate desert water, the friction of my swimsuit-clad body perched unprotected on the baby blue tube of the raft. Me, forgetting, the sun holds the power of gods. I spend my second night curled next to the coolness of the river, my head a throbbing mass I'd like to tear off and send it downstream. I don't go to my tent, the stuffiness of prison, but more importantly, it is too far from the river, and I need quick access as I repeatedly retch into the Siena current as the night passes. I lie still, curled in fetal position on my sleeping pad. Late, dark, but desert warm with a solid black sky of screaming stars. I expect nothing from anyone. It's my own fault. It's my own fault I wasn't more careful. I know better. And the flat desert night spins around my head, around my body. And it is here, in this scene, that James comes, sits next to me, brings his sleeping pad out, and lies by my side. He tethers me, keeps me from spinning away. "I'm sorry," I grumble. "You don't have to stay here." I'm embarrassed. I hardly know him. He keeps his hand on my back all night. He does not leave me to the loneliness of being sick with no one by my side. I think I shall love him forever simply for that comforting hand. My first year at college, I found myself kneeling on the floor over a cold apartment toilet, the first time I'd been sick without my mother to bring me water or soda and brush the hair from my face. I cried, not because of the wretchedness of being ill, but because of the realization of the solitary aspect of growing up. The pain so stark, I remember it 13 years later. James is a touchstone. At critical times, what seems small to the giver makes all the difference to the one who receives. That night, something invisible happened. His hand on my back, his body sleeping by my side through the darkness and heat of the desert night, the kindness. It wasn't a gift, it was a tie. Invisible, unspoken. But from that night on, I always knew where James sat, walked, or swam, and I could feel him. Heat stroke sends me to the river, lays me out under the stars, shows me how it feels to sleep under a black sky of delirious glowing orbs, unfettered by human light, unblocked by tent mesh. Of all the stones I collected, this small, smooth pebble is the one I kept, the touchstone of the freedom of the dark desert night without filters. This I can always return to. In the morning, when I groggily force my eyes open, I find we have slept beneath a towering red rock structure that resembles a man's face so completely no one has to point it out or describe it. It is simply there, across the river, looking down, a guardian. Guardians surround me, and so now does James. In 1965, in Down the Colorado, Robert Brewster Stanton wrote, quote, "The red is not in itself brilliant, but the effect of the morning and evening sun shining upon the cliffs through the peculiar atmosphere of that dry country produces a most startling effect until the whole side of the canyon seems ablaze with the scarlet flame." Unquote. Rafting the 83-mile stretch of meandering river from Sand Island to Clay Hills Takeout takes us through a history from which we lie so far removed it is hard to fathom the eons that have passed in forming the faces and layers revealed. San Juan is famous for the goosenecks, a tight twisting path the river has cut into the rock where it takes 8 river miles to cover 1 mile of land. A prime example of an entrenched meander. When taking the path of least resistance, the route is seldom direct. James and I become an entrenched meander. We talk on the back of the raft mile after mile. His vocabulary astounds me. I want to have him just for the words he knows. I'm kind of ashamed to call myself a writer next to him. Shit, I need a dictionary to keep up, but it is gorgeous on the ears. The river cannot claim independence of the larger landscape surrounding it. It has evolved as a consequence of the land. We are the same.